This is part 3 of lesson 6.05. We just finished the reading in the last video, just got to the very end of it, and then time ran out, so we had to start a new one. Only other things you have to do yet for this lesson are complete the Inside Civil War activity and then complete the checkpoint. So let's look at the complete the Inside War activity first. We did the progression of the Civil War, that one. So inside the Civil War, use what you know. More than any other war in U.S. history, the Civil War created conflict within families, within the military, and within the public at large. What must it have been like? What must it have been like? Print the Inside the Civil War activity sheet, which you will find here under Lesson Resources. Then read about Sullivan Ballou, a Union soldier whose unsent letter to his wife reveals the emotional struggles faced by those who felt compelled to leave their loved ones for the cause of the war. And here we go. Sullivan Ballou's letter to his wife. Born in 1829 in Smithfield, Rhode Island, Sullivan Ballou was a dedicated public servant throughout his brief life. When he entered the U.S. military in 1861, he left behind his wife Sarah and their 2 young sons. Prior to the First Battle of Bull Run, Ballou wrote a letter to his wife describing his love for her and his commitment to the war. The letter was never mailed. Ballou died in battle, and the letter was found much later with his effects in Virginia. Excerpts from the letter can be found at this link. So let's open up the link and look at the letter. July 14th, 1861, Camp Clark, Washington. My very dear Sarah, the indications are very strong that we shall move in a few days, perhaps tomorrow. Lest I should not be able to write again, I feel impelled to write a few lines that may fall under your eye when I shall be no more. I have no misgivings about or lack of confidence in the cause in which I am engaged, and my courage does not halt or falter. I know how strongly American civilization now leans on the triumph of the government, and how great a debt we owe to those who went before us through the blood and sufferings of the American Revolution. I am willing, perfectly willing, to lay down all my joys in this life to help maintain this government and pay that debt. Sarah, my love for you is deathless. It seems to bind me with mighty cables that nothing but omnipotence can break. And yet my love of country comes over me like a strong wind and bears me unresistibly on with all these chains to the battlefield. The memories of blissful moments I have spent with you come creeping over me, and I feel most gratified to God and to you that I have enjoyed them for so long. And hard it is for me to give them up and burn to ashes the hopes of future years, when God willing we might still have lived and love together, and seeing our sons grow up to honorable manhood around us. I have, I know, but few and small claims upon divine providence, but something whispers to me, perhaps it is the wafted prayer of my little Edgar, that I shall return my loved ones unharmed. If I do not, my dear Sarah, we will never forget how much I love you, and when my last breath escapes me on the battlefield, it will whisper your name. Forgive my many faults and the many pains I have caused you. How thoughtless and foolish I have oftentimes been. How gladly would I wash out with my tears every little spot upon your happiness. But, oh, Sarah, if the dead can come back to this earth and flit unseen around those they loved, I shall always be near you, and in the gladdest days and in the darkest nights. Always, always, and if there be a soft breeze upon your cheek, it shall be my breath. As the cool air fans your throbbing temple, it shall be my spirit passing by. Sarah, do not mourn me dead. Think I am gone and wait for thee, for we shall meet again. Sullivan Ballou was killed a week later at the First Battle of Bull Run, July 21st, 1861. Born on March 28th, 1829 in Smithfield, Rhode Island, Ballou was educated at Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts, Brown University, so on and so forth. Ballou devoted his brief life to public service. He was elected in 1854 as clerk of the Rhode Island House of Representatives, later serving as its speaker. He married Sarah Hunt Shumway, and the following year saw the birth of their first child, Edward. Then William was born. He enrolled in the military after the war broke out. He became judge advocate at the militia and died at the First Battle of Bull Run. When he died, his wife was 24. She later moved to New Jersey to live out her life with her son William and never remarried. She died at age 80 in 1917. They are buried next to each other at Swan Point Cemetery in Rhode Island. There are no known living descendants. Ironically, Sullivan Ballou's letter was never mailed. Although Sarah had received other decidedly more upbeat letters dated after the now famous letter from the battlefield, the letter in question would be found among Sullivan Ballou's effects when Governor William Sprague of New Rhode Island traveled to Virginia to retrieve the remains of his state sons who had fallen in battle. So now, if we look at the questions on the reading guide. All right, and here's the inside the Civil War questions that we can answer from looking at the letter. And based on the first paragraph of the letter, which reasons below best describe why Sullivan Ballou wrote this letter to his wife? Check all that apply. Do you think it's because he felt he would not have another chance to write again soon? Yes, that did come across in the letter. Did he want to convince his wife to join him on the battlefield? No. He was letting his wife know he'd be coming home in a few days? No. He wanted to write one last letter to his wife in case he died in battle? Yes, that one we can include. Or the last one, he had some spare time and thought he'd send a letter since there was nothing else to do. No, not at all. So it's the first one and the fourth one. Do you think he put much thought into the letter? Yes, I think he did. And how can you tell? Just listen to the things he was talking about in the letter. His feelings for his wife, what would happen if he died, don't mourn him. It was very eloquent, and it appeared to me that he put a lot of thought into it. Locate a quote from the second or third paragraph that describes how Ballou feels about the war. Is he committed to the war or just waiting it out till he can go home? So let's look here. Here we go. Yet my love of country comes over me like a strong wind and bears me unresistibly on with those chains in the battlefield. Talking about the great debt we owe to people that fought in the revolution and they want to help maintain this government. Those are all great quotes to show how he's very committed to the war. Is the letter meant to be public or private? It seems to be private, pretty much talking about his thoughts and his feelings towards his wife. It wouldn't be something necessarily he'd want broadcast to everybody, like we're reading it now. What is the main point of Ballou's letter? To send information about the war or to tell his wife how much he loves her? I think we can tell that the letter talks mostly about how much he loves his wife and his reasons for doing what he's doing. That comes across pretty clearly in the letter. Was the letter written during the Civil War, immediately after, or after some lapse of time? It's during the war, right before the first Battle of Bull Run, where he was killed. And next, based on the letter, what can you conclude about life in the United States at the time it was written? Select all that apply. Were Americans religious with a firm belief in God and afterlife? Well, it seems to be. That came across. He talked a lot about God and life after death. Would we be able to determine if there was a high divorce rate among Americans? No. People felt so strongly for the cause of the war they would leave family behind to fight for it? Yes. He talked about that quite a bit in his letter. At this point in time, enthusiasm for the war and optimism about its results prevailed. Yes, that came across in the letter. He felt pretty optimistic and was enthusiastic for defend the country. While at war, men were forbidden by any contact with their loved ones. No, that's nothing that we can tell from the letter. So we have the first, the third, and the fourth. And the last one, write a question to Ballou that is left unanswered by the letter. And that's just something you can use your imagination for. Like, what would you add to that? And that would be the end of the Inside the Civil War sheet. And this is not an assignment that you submit. It's just something to help you understand a little bit more about the war and people, the real life accounts. So then the last thing you have to do then, before you finish, remember to have your reading guide completed, and then you go on to the 605 checkpoint, and you'll have that to complete. Let's take a quick, and it says you can use your completed reading guide. There's 4 questions, and then you're done, and then you can move on. We are skipping the 606 discussion. We are not doing the Unit 6 discussion in this unit, okay? Once again, we are not doing the Unit 6 discussion, 6.06. So the next lesson you will do is 6.07. Thank you.